John, it's good to have you with us this morning. Well, tell me, what have you been reading? Quiet by Susan Cain. Now, why did you pick that book? The subtitle is The Power of Introverts in a World That Won't Quit Talking. Being an introvert, I thought this might be an encouraging book myself. Can you tell the audience anything about the author? Susan Cain earned her undergraduate degree from Princeton and has a law degree from Harvard. In the early part of her legal career, she focused on negotiations. Her interest in writing about introversion came from her own difficulties at public speaking, which made Harvard Law School a trial. While an attorney, she noticed that there were other people at her firm who were able to use their personality traits that were similar to her own for good, but she was struggling. She eventually realized that the concept of introversion and extroversion provided the language for talking about questions of identity for herself that she was really struggling with. She explained that in writing this book, Quiet, she became convinced that introverts today are like the women of the 1960s, just in need of liberation. Now, since it's nonfiction, are there any quotes you can share that give us a sample of the content? Before I share a quote, it has to be admitted that she is a fan of introverts. Her research indicates that 1/3 of the population is introverted, and that most of what we think in the general public about being an introvert is uninformed. I'm going to be careful because there's really nothing wrong with being an extrovert, and I don't want it to come across that way. And this book should not be read as a criticism of extroverts, as much as a warning to society to not overlook the value and the contributions of introverts, even though introverts don't shout or clamor for attention. I put it this way. There's nothing wrong with being right-handed or left-handed. But there is something wrong when a school only orders right-handed desks. Left-handed people have a contribution to make. So introverts are the left-handed people. Much, if not all, of the modern world caters to extroverts. And in doing so, they ignore the value of introverts. Susan writes, the highly sensitive introverted tend to be philosophically or spiritual in their orientation rather than materialistic. They dislike small talk. They often describe themselves as creative or intuitive. They dream vividly and can oftentimes remember their dreams the next day. They love music and nature and art and physical beauty. They feel exceptionally strong emotions, sometimes acute bouts of joy, but also sorrow, melancholy, and fear. Highly sensitive people also process information about their environments, both physical and emotional, unusually deep. They tend to notice subtleties that other people miss. Another person's shift in a mood, say, or a light bulb burning a touch too brightly. That's one of her quotes. Hold on now. Do you need to love music and remember your dreams to be an introvert? No. She's saying that these are traits of the introvert. No one has all of them, of course. But as an introvert myself, I can say I do not mind talking. That's a misunderstanding. The common vernacular is introverts are socially awkward and prefer not to talk in social settings. That's really wrong. What extroverts can talk about all day is small talk. The weather. Who did what? Did you watch that? Have you been here or have you been there, etc. Introverts do not like small talk. We go mad listening to people talking about how difficult it is to find a parking spot or how cold it is. That's just a waste to us. Do you have another quote related to introverts and their social skills? Of course I do. Here's another quote from her. Introverts, in contrast, may have strong social skills and enjoy parties and business meetings, but after a while wish they were home in their pajamas. They prefer to devote their social energies to close friends, colleagues, and family. They listen more than they talk, think before they speak, and often feel as if they express themselves better in writing than in conversation. They tend to dislike conflict. Many have a horror of small talk, but enjoy deep discussions. I think the easiest way to sum this up is extroverts go to a party, some social gathering, and they return home from that event full of energy. Introverts go to a social gathering, the same party, and when it's all over, they're drained. They're exhausted. I mean, on a personal note, in church life, when there's a fellowship meal, an introvert like myself falls asleep in the car on the way home. The main reason is just as she wrote in the book. We listen. By the time my evening is over, I'm not tired from walking around meeting people. I'm exhausted because somebody told me about their daughter's divorce. Another person told me about their brother's cancer. Somebody told me about their husband who is unemployed, or a daughter who's dropping out of college. And see, I listen to all of that, and I hear all of that, and I can't forget all of that. And so, as an introvert, I'm exhausted from carrying that. Well, we're almost out of time here, so is there anything you'd like to add? Yeah, there's one more thing, I guess. When a child is young and introverted, parents see this as a problem that they need to fix. We instinctively know that our children need social skills to make it in this world, the world that we've created. So we say things to our introverted children like, why can't you be more like your cousin Donna and go around and visit with all your relatives? Or, don't you want more friends? The only way to meet people is to put yourself out there. I felt that pressure. And your kids can feel that pressure. You see, we already know it's an extroverted world. We know it's an extroverted world like we know it's a right-handed world. We don't need anybody to tell us. But asking us to put ourselves out there is like asking a deaf person to hear. Susan writes, don't think of introversion as something that needs to be cured. You know, I've never thought about it that way. But we do think of introverts as people who need to be converted to the way we are as extroverts, don't we? There is much more in this book that needs to be spoken about. There's a 20-question survey to provide direction if you're wondering if you're introverted. It's a marvelous book with insight after insight for those of us called to be introverts. If you are a parent with a child who is introverted, first, don't worry about them. They're going to be fine. Second, read this book.